Geeks, what's up? Welcome to another exciting episode of the GWW Capes Crew podcast. It's Monday. I'm excited to be here as always with my awesome crew. First off, let me introduce my good buddy, a good, awesome, regular host on the show now, Mr. David Pecci. What's up, man?
What up, geeks?
My brother from SoCal. What's the word? What's the word up and down there in SoCal today? How's the weather? Is it better than here?
Central Coast. Oh, hell yeah. It was like, what, low 80s?
Yeah. Well, thanks. It was 108 today here. I don't even know.
Shit.
It's craziness. Yeah, it's nice. How close are you to the beach, buddy?
Disgustingly close. So,
Disgustingly close.
on my bike, I can get there in like 8 minutes.
Ooh, it's nice.
Yeah, and then 4 minutes if I drove.
Yeah, okay. It's good, man. But it's hard to be you right now.
Right? And then you have freaking Brad there and like in the south where it's humid as to be.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
yes.
fell
Ladies and
into a
gentlemen.
burning ring of fire. Went down, down, down. The flames went higher. My wife just made me walk the line. So.
Brad's in a bit of a Johnny Cash mood. So, and you already heard him, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to be back on the show with the man who brings the Southern charm and the Southern hospitality to the Capes Crew, Mr. Brad Bell. Welcome back, sir. It's good to have you, man.
Thank you so much for having me back on. It's been too long, my friend, too long. But Dave has done a great job while I've been away doing my own thing, and I think y'all are in good hands with him. I've really enjoyed listening to the podcast the past couple of weeks. So, and he is right. It's been. We were talking to some creators at HeroCon, and I had a few people there from Austin, Texas that I was talking to, and it's just such a big difference between the heat somewhere like Austin, where it's this dry heat, versus what I call swamp ass heat here, where you have, I mean, just pure humidity. I mean, I don't think that people are prepared for it when they come around here, around the Charlotte area, or the Carolinas in general, because the girls walk out and it's just like frizz everywhere. They walk outside.
That's fun for them. Huh? That's really fun for them. So Brad, before we get things underway tonight, tell us what you've been up to, man. What's been going on?
Well, I guess the big thing is I went to Heroes Con, which is my hometown convention. I've actually been going for like 12 years. The first time I went was in 11th grade. And I'm glad that I got to hop on here this week, because I heard you guys talking about cons last week and how we're kicking off the convention season, which we are. And what was the con that you guys went to last weekend, Will, where you met Bucky?
We went Wizard World Sacramento.
Okay, Wizard World Sacramento. So not too far from y'all, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit under 3 hours. It's like two and 3/4.
California, like I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, LA, Fresno, San Francisco, that's got to be close, right? But I've realized that now, right? Since I've got to know you guys and just learn the distances. But no, Heroes Con, great convention. I'm not just trying to pump it up because it's my hometown one. It is one of the two sacred comic book conventions, I say in quotation marks as you're listening to this probably, because Shelton Drum, who puts on the show, we've actually had on this show, the owner of Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte, he does a great job of protecting it from the Hollywood evils of Hollywood, of Tinseltown, and keeps it just a nice, clean comic book convention. Now, I love the Hollywood stuff. That's awesome. Like the stuff you getting to meet Sebastian Stan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, getting to meet Sebastian Stan. That was a great story. I love how you did the whole bionic arm thing. I thought that was funny as hell. But this one, Heroes Con in Charlotte, and then Emerald City Comic Con in Washington, I guess it's in Seattle, is one of the two comic book just sacred comic book conventions where they keep the Hollywood out, and those are considered two of the best cons in all the United States. So one thing, there's two things Seattle and Charlotte have in common. Number one, they have the two best comic book conventions in America. Number two, they have the two best teams in the NFC. The Panthers and the Seahawks.
There's the sports reference. Boom.
So there is your sports reference right there. So go ahead and do your shot, my classic Capes listeners. But no, I got to interview so many cool people, and I got to really thank Casey for setting up my press pass. Cause Rico Renzi, who's actually the inker on Spider-Gwen, it runs the PR stuff for Heroes Con, which is odd, but he actually grew up in Charlotte and worked at the guy who runs the show's comic book store before he ever broke into Marvel. So Casey got in contact with him. I mean, we got to interview Brandon Fletcher. We got to interview Mark Bagley. We sit down with good friend of the show, Frank Barberi. I think I said it right. I know I said Barbary when I sat down, and it's Barberi. And Will, Frank's just the nicest guy ever. For anybody that don't know, he wrote Howling Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of the supernatural one, and he writes Five Ghosts for Image. I got to sit down with Francesco Francavilla, the guy that does the art for Afterlife with Archie, and he's a big man. Yeah, he's a big Mondo poster artist. I mean, just a super, super nice guy.
Brad, I'm jealous, man. I love that guy. He's like, I still tell like some of our listeners, I tell Casey, I'm still nowhere near what you would consider a comic expert on your guys' level, to where I can look at a piece of art and say, oh, I know who that is, or I know who that is. But obviously, Francesco Francavilla, his artwork is so distinct that you could just pick it out like, 9 out of 10 times, and I love his style so much. It especially when you're talking about a book that he worked on for with Archie, his art style just lends itself so well to that kind of story.
Yeah, and you know what? I asked him that, Will. It's funny you brought that up. I said, how does it feel when somebody who maybe doesn't even follow the comics industry closely can see your art, whether it's in a Mondo poster and Afterlife with Archie, and be like, hey, I know that artist. I know who it is. And he's just, like I said, he's very humble, and he says he considers it the honor of a lifetime. So you got to appreciate that. Let's see. Sure. I talked to Chris Sims and Chad Bowers. They do X-Men 92. It was interesting to hear their take and how they grew up on the 90s cartoon like a lot of us did, and how one of them hates Cyclops. I believe it was Chris Sims. And Chad Bowers loves Cyclops, so they kind of balance each other out, right? Because you either hate or love Cyclops. Dave, do you hate or love Cyclops?
Hate.
I hate him too. What about you, Will?
I was always a Wolverine guy, so we'll say hate.
Yeah. Give him a big adamantium middle finger from this podcast. But my biggest honor. I say honor. I mean, it really was probably one of the biggest interviews I've ever got to do since we've been doing this. Is I got to interview Neil Adams, and many of you know that Neil Adams is a famous Batman artist, and along with Frank Miller, he's one of the two guys who modernized Batman. I mean, he took him from the campy, almost reiteration of the Adam West cartoons that were on the page back then in the late 60s, and then about 1973 made him the dark, gritty Batman along with writer Denny O'Neil that we all know and love today. And it's funny because Dave here, and I hope Dave will talk about this in a second, he's trying to reach out an interview to another famous star who looks good in green, but I'll let him talk about that. Neil Adams, I knew he was going to be at the con, so I'm like, I don't even know if I want to email him because he was pretty much the guest of honor at this convention. I said, is he really going to take the time? So I email him, no joke, probably about 30 minutes later. He's like, hey, I'm going to be super busy at the con. Here's my cell phone number. We'll set up an interview. So, and all these interviews have hit the website by now, so you can go to thegww.com and check them out. But yeah, I got to interview Neil Adams on the phone. We got to talk about things such as him modernizing Batman and just how does it feel when he's mentioned up there with Frank Miller, and is there any kind of rivalry between him and Frank Miller? Because everybody knows because Dark Knight Returns, like Frank Miller gets the big credit for modernizing Batman. So if you want to find out the answer, I won't reveal it here, but go to DGWW and listen to the Neil Adams interview. That's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. And Heroes Con is awesome, guys, because I heard you guys talk last week about conventions, and Casey's like telling Dave a press pass doesn't mean jack shit. It depends on the convention, because like I mean, we are in the South, so there is a little thing, Dave, called Southern hospitality, so maybe that has something to do with it, but I mean, we get to skip every line. They treat us very well because we're press. We get to basically, there's a suite, and we're talking, this is a huge convention floor. This isn't, a rinky-dink high school gymnasium just because it's in North Carolina. I mean, at Charlotte Convention Center, right next to where the Charlotte Hornets play, massive venue, the biggest convention hall at that convention center, and there is like a glass suite overlooking the floor where you can just look out onto the whole show, and you're up. I mean, I was up there eating a sub with Jason Latour, who writes Spider-Gwen, which Jason Latour is from Charlotte, and I've been fortunate enough to meet him and talk to him a couple times. But got to conduct a lot of interviews up there in the press suite. Anything we wanted to drink, was up there. I mean, minus alcohol. They didn't serve alcohol. But I mean, they treat us very well. So, and I gotta say, it's a dream come true because I went to that convention as a peon for years and years, and now to be on the other side. And guys, I went full out, man. Like I had my business cards, which I'm gonna find one here in a minute and pull out. I had my, I was wearing full tie, dress pants, dress shirt. So there was no joking around. And
Brad, hold on. You're trying to make this organization look way too professional.
Hey.
Come on. Who'd you think you joined here? IGN? What's going on? Dude,
I am
awesome.
auditioning. I am auditioning anytime. No, I have to say that, in all honesty, if you're ever going to go as press to a convention, press could mean anything from getting a quote to just walking around the con, but if you're going to go as press, if you look the part, and this goes with anything in life, people will take you seriously. So, like I said, I recommend Heroes Con if you're going to be anywhere near the Southeast, if you're on the East Coast. New York Comic Con is the big one over here on the East Coast. It's the granddaddy, but still, this one is sacred in and of its own right. So I had a great time, and thanks GWW for sending me as press.
Brad, you always have whenever you talk about Heroes Con, I can see like the excitement in your eyes, man. So that alone makes me want to go one of these days. And being like I said, that I'm not, I'm not like super well versed in comics, but it's still like going to something like that. I feel like I would definitely get to know more and really talk to like the creators and the writers and stuff, and really just kind of, we'll say, get grounded in the whole comics culture.
And the thing is, Agasicles was supposed to go because he lives in Virginia, which isn't too far from Charlotte. It's like I think the part he's from is like 3.5 hours from us. But he ended up buying a new house and moving, so he wasn't able to go. Because we usually only get, sometimes we can get 2 for the bigger conventions, but usually we only get 1 press pass.
Yeah.
And I was going to give him the press pass, and I was just going to go and hang out with him, but he ended up not being able to go. So thank you for not going, Agasicles. It created a great opportunity for me. And in your honor, boom!
What?
Go ahead, Will. I'm sorry. I was just wanting to do my Agasicles impression. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Brad, what was Did you get some cool autographs from some of these people? Did you get any?
Yeah, well, it's so funny because when I go as press. I try not to, I
Right.
don't know, ask for autographs, especially for some of the bigger guys. But like Neil Adams, I had to, right? It was just such a bucket list
Yeah.
thing. Neil Adams, first of all, I love Neil, and he is a
Yeah.
super nice guy. He treats the press like gold, and he
Yeah.
is a legend. But man, some of his if you do not buy an item from him, it's $30 for a signature. I think
Yeah.
he charges 300 for a sketch. He
Yeah.
had some prints, and he's done so many famous covers. Like, of course, he's done Muhammad Ali versus Superman. He's done the famous issue of Detective where Joker's holding the playing card with Batman on it. The famous Superman cover of him breaking the chains. The famous Speedy shooting up heroin with Green Arrow and Green Lantern looking on. So he has all of his prints. And are you guys familiar with the Muhammad Ali versus Superman print at all? Either one of you?
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I'll describe it for you. So like, it's a horizontal print, and it has those two fighting in the ring, and in the crowd is like everybody big from the DC universe and a bunch of '70s celebrities. So like the Osmonds are on there, Sonny and Cher's in there. You know, you name it from the '70s, they were in there. Well, for the best athletes of this last century, back in 2000, he did a cover for ESPN, the magazine, in which he redid it. And in the ring was Ali and Michael Jordan fighting, and in the crowd were the 100, well, I guess it would have been the 98 other, because they were 1 and 2 greatest athletes of the century. So I got that print. I got it signed. I'm going to have that framed. That was awesome. A guy interviewed from IDW, his name is Chad Thomas. He's a TMNT artist. He sketched me a awesome Toka, which Tokan Razor from TMNT2, Secret of the Ooze. He said of all the turtle stuff he sketched, because that's his main thing, that that he had never done that. So, and then I picked up, which, you know, we've had some copies of this, but I went ahead and picked up the hardcover of Five Ghosts from Frank, and
cool.
yeah, he signed it, man, and I think it's cool. I like having just a little memento from the people I interview. I like to be supportive, so a lot of times they'll ask me, which is very cool. I mean, so many times they said, just come on back here, and like I was at Frank's table for probably about an hour, and we were chit-chatting, and I ended up editing it. It ended up only being about 30 minutes, but, you know, I want to buy something. I want to support those guys for taking the time. And I'm not setting up interviews with people who I think are crap. You know, I'm trying to bring like quality talent so that our listeners can hear about them and learn more about them, because there's so many people, and there's nothing wrong with this, because we were all there at one point or another, that really follow just the characters. Like they don't follow the creators. And once you get more versed, and I think Casey would agree with this, you tend to follow creators over characters.
Right.
So yeah, that's about all I bought. So I mean, you can't walk in the door at a convention without spending $100. It's like just to walk in the door, it feels like.
Yeah.
And Neil Adams, if you breathe the same air as him, it's like 50 additional bucks. So.
Man, that's some expensive oxygen, man.
Yeah, it was. But hey, it's worth it to get from the con BO. Y'all know that con smell.
We call that con funk.
Yeah, con funk. And it's gotten a lot better, because as the groups of people have gotten more diverse, it's not just the obese guy from his grandmother's basement. But every once in a while, you get that retro whiff, and boy, when you smell it, you know it, man.
It automatically takes you back to when you first started going to cons.
Yeah, it does.
Just like, oh, I forgot about that.
I know, for real, it does. But I had a great time, man.
I know, right? So Brad, speaking of cons, and Heroes Con being a obviously comics-driven convention, I'm posing this question to all of you. We're obviously we'll say at a stage of technology where everything is going digital. we're in the age of technology and, streaming video, streaming books, streaming comic books. Like, and I know we've talked about this before on the show, but it's kind of a topic that I always like to touch upon with different co-hosts, and I want to know where you guys stand in the whole digital versus actual printed comic books. And I know Brad and we chatted a little bit about this. So, but before we get our answers, Brad, we'll go to our buddy David over here.
Yeah.
David, how do you feel about the whole digital comics thing, and what do you prefer?
Well, I think it's just in general, for any sort of, piece of literature, do you like the feeling of having that, there's like three aspects to it, There's kind of, for me, it's like the feel of holding it in your hand. It's just sitting on your bed. I don't know, turning the pages. It's kind of that, that home feeling. And then the second part is it's kind of better on your eyes to actually look at a paper than to actually look at a digital screen all the time.
Right.
And
so health benefits then.
Yeah, well, there is,
yes, Yes.
And then the third part is like, the collection, like you can trade with your friends, down the road, or if there's a special variant cover. So for those reasons, I generally like to get, the paper. If it's a series that I'm not too crazy about, but I want to check it out, then yeah, I don't mind going digital for it.
Sure.
But if there's something like that I love, like Vision or like Batman Beyond, like, yeah, I want to have it in my own special stash.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm with you, buddy, on definitely for a lot of those same points. And I mean, you can look around my room that you can see in the shot if you're watching it. I mean, you can obviously tell I'm a collector of things. I like collecting figures. I like collecting pop vinyls, and I definitely like collecting comic books. I'm like a sucker where if you slap the word limited edition or variant on anything, I don't care if it's a bag of crap, I'll buy it. I'll want it. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll pay the extra $5-10 to buy the variant cover of Harley Quinn or Iron Man or whatever, because like that's all. I mean, to me, I like the sensation, like you said, of having an actual book in my hand. Like, I mean, just seeing, because it's art that we're looking at in comic books. Okay, so like it's almost like comparing like seeing a Van Gogh on a digital screen and seeing a real thing.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no comparison. And like you said, I think definitely digital has some uses, like you said, if it's something you're not really sure about, check it out digital, and hell, you can always go back and buy it later on in book form. And I mean, what about the rest of us who don't have awesome computers, who get free screens all the time when we're trying to read through a comic? I mean, you ain't gonna have that on a real comic book, that you might have that on a digital. So I regardless of how much space it takes to actually have all these long boxes and comics in your apartment, house, garage, wherever, I don't care. I will always be a huge fan of the actual printed comic book. I'm like old school all the way. Brad?
Guys, have either of you ever heard Stan Lee's quote on digital when they ask him about it?
Yes,
I think
I
so,
have.
but I don't remember what it is. What is it again?
His quote, and it's becoming legendary at this point, is
digital
comics are like female breasts. They look good on the screen, but they feel a lot better in your hand. So I recommend the real thing.
Yeah.
And, well, I'm glad you brought this up, because, you and I have talked about this, and I've talked this subject to death with the Gassicles and Casey. Yeah. So I always love beating a dead horse. But I ask because we're kind of at that transition point. So it may have got monotonous, but I was just kind of almost running a survey. Every creator I interviewed, with the exception of maybe Marguerite Bennett, because she was in kind of a hurry, I asked what was their feeling on digital comics. And I say this as a person who is transitioning. I'll get to that story in a minute, to digital comics. And their answer seemed to be, it doesn't have to be one or the other. There's something to say about the convenience of digital or trying something out on Comixology or Marvel Unlimited and saying, hey, I really like that series, maybe I'll go pick it up in paper form now. It's almost like a testing ground. Now, they say that maybe because they want you to buy the book in digital and print, so they get a double whammy there. But Marvel's good about their paper copies come with a digital download code, so you have to give Marvel a lot of credit for that.
Sure.
Here's my story. Here's a little anecdote real quick. Okay, I'm a very indecisive person. There's some stuff I'm absolutely sure about. I love my wife, I love my dogs, and I love the Carolina Panthers. Everything else in life,
take a shot.
I can be very indecisive. I would be a terrible president. Not that anybody would ever vote me into such. Wait, maybe they would, considering the current political climate. But
Yes.
well, I'll just
I
say.
vote for you, Brad.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But I'm an indecisive person, so we are blessed enough to get a lot of these review copies from pretty much everybody but Marvel. Come on, Marvel, what are you doing? We're waiting. And they're digital, and the reason we enjoy those is because it's convenient. We can read them real quick, and we can hammer out a review, right? And I have the collector's mentality. I have 4 long boxes sitting in a closet back there that has the health benefit of mold every time I open the closet, just whiffing me. That's that smell. Everybody
like
says
the spore coming at you.
I love the smell of the paper. That's mold, guys. Hey, I love that smell too, but that's mold. I think if we ever we need to make scented comic book candles. Excuse me. Maybe we can push this for Yankee Candle. We can get Con Funk and Classic Comic Shop. I think those two would be big sellers in the geek community.
Yes.
But
just for the heck of it, they need to throw in a Stanley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, man. So I said I'm going all digital. So I bought an iPad Air 2, and man, I was going full steam on Comixology and reading our review copies. I mean, it's beautiful, guys. The one panel at a time in eye-popping HD, and then being the indecisive person, being a Best Buy Elite member, I had 30 days to take it back, so I took it back, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy because God knows my wife is. I'm tempted to go back and get an iPad Pro now because I was so used to that, and like, I can't decide. So to me, I think my advice would be to try digital, see if you like it. And if it is something you want to pick up at a con, you know, definitely pick it up, support the artist or writer, get them to sign it. If, let's say you love The Flash, collect The Flash, absolutely, by all means. But maybe that's the only book you pick up in paper. I think it doesn't have to be one or the other. But I see how people have the collector's mindset. Here's always been my biggest fear with digital. Then I'll let you guys chime in. I just want to know if either one of y'all ever thought about this. My grandfather was the one who got me into comics and all this geeky stuff. My grandfather collected comics he just passed away last year. He was 82. So he collected comics from the time he was about 4 or 5 until he was about 28. And so basically from the golden age of Batman up to Spider-Man starting in the Silver Age, he collected comics. And they bought a house. He put them in his basement. The basement was just basically dirt. They got ruined, like thousands of golden and Silver Age books just completely ruined. So I didn't get the opportunity to see those books or have those books passed down to me. But I always think, what if I have a son or daughter or niece or nephew or somebody who's into comics? Am I going to be passing digital download codes down to them, or am I going to be able to pass like the paper books? I mean, and by then, who knows? Maybe everything's digital and it's retro, almost the way that vinyl records are today, right? Have either of you guys thought about that? I know you've thought about the collector's mentality, but have you ever thought about passing down your books? You know, what's going to happen when you're older or when you're gone? Because my grandfather left a legacy by getting me into all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. I totally can see that as being an issue, especially for guys like us that comics and we'll say like nerd culture in general are such a big part of our lives. And I mean, I know one day, God willing, if I have kids, I want to pass all this stuff I have behind me to them one day, including comics and including the stories that that we all get to sit and talk about every week. And I agree with you, Brad. That I think that's kind of a difficult thing to pass down in digital format. I mean, who knows what formats are going to be like in another 20 years? When some of us have kids who are in, their, young childhood, we'll say teenage years, when they're reading comics, hopefully like we are, like, what do we get to pass down to them? You're right.
What do you think, Dave? Is that something that's ever crossed your mind? I mean, talk about just would you want to pass that down to your loved ones?
Yeah, of course. I want my kids to love and experience art and comics and reading, and get them into things that teach them about culture, and human emotion. And I think comics, like any work of literature, it teaches you something, and it's a love affair. And whenever I think about, and I've had my thoughts about literature for many years, and one of the first things I heard was from my senior year high school teacher, English teacher. She told me that one time, I asked her, well, why are you single? And she's like, well, at this time of my life, I'd rather read a book than date a guy. And I never understood that. And then after, me having a bunch of bad relationships, and I've gotten to the point where I'm at the point where I'd rather date a girl than I'd rather read a book than date a girl at times, because I just fall in love with the characters and the story.
Yeah, and you just never know where technology is going to be. I was watching Independence Day Resurgence, which we can talk about in a second if you want to, and there's a character on there who says, our species gave up our biological form for a virtual existence years ago. And I'm like, I hope some shit like that don't happen in the next 20
I was going
years.
to, I had a question for you, Brad, because as many people don't know, you're an English teacher, so
I'm a history teacher.
History.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, where do you see your students going for reading-wise? Do they hate it when they have to read the textbook, or do they want their iPad?
I don't use the textbook much, man, because I try to use a bunch of primary sources. Say we're talking about something such as the Trail of Tears. I'm about to get really boring. We're going to lose our few listeners here. But I will try to pull an actual account from a native at the time, and then just kind of the fill-ins, like a speech that Andrew Jackson gave to Congress. And then I'll pull a textbook, just a little paragraph, and we'll compare to three and see which one seems more trustworthy or whatnot. But yeah, they moan and groan anytime you get the textbook out. But partially that's my fault, because I use the textbook for punishment, because I, like most of my students, I do not enjoy the textbook. But I know I have so many kids who love comics and love superheroes, and just geek culture so much more accepted than it was when we were in high school. I mean, I graduated about 10 years ago at this point. So, but a lot of them who do read comics, they read digital, but I think that's because they can't afford the comics, and I don't know if they're doing it in the most legit of means. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If I was an English teacher, we'd be in big trouble, man. We'd be in big trouble, trust me. Casey edits my articles, which I'm not a terrible writer, but my sentence structure can... I'm still trying to figure out how to use a semicolon. I'm being a little facetious on that. I'm not that bad, but...
Yeah,
Brad, I don't know what the difference is between those things.
It worries me with the way things are going, just the way so many people are just going digital, and then it worries me too if how many people are going to start, just stealing the digitals online, and then you know, I'd hate to see a comic book store close down, you know, because it's more than just, you know, the comics there. You know, it's the gathering. It's going out there and meeting people, talking to the owner about, you know, what's hot off the press. You know, it's about the midnight launch of the brand new story for something. Yeah. And I grew up in a small town, and we didn't have any comic book stores, you know, like around. So for me, it would be like maybe 2 months or 3 months till I hit to the comic book store again. And now I'm fortunate enough where, you know, I can go every day if I wanted. So I don't think
that. Don't do that. You'll get in trouble because I've done that before.
You mean your wallet gets in trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, you know, because I know I have, you know, I have some younger cousins and, you know, nieces, and I just see them growing up, and, you know, it just concerns me that we've got this culture, you know, that, you know, they lose so much, you know, out of the actual paper, and
I just think digital is gonna, I hate to say this, I do think it will supplant paper comics within the next decade, because the thing about, the best way I would describe like our society now is instantaneous. Like you can get the news in an instant from Twitter, if you want to call it news. Sometimes it's not, but it's changed the world we live in because we can get information from all over the world in a matter of seconds and 140 characters or through pictures on Instagram or whatever. And I think that that's kind of made us as a society, and I'm guilty of it myself, but since we're a little older, I don't think we're as bad of wanting that instant gratification. And instead of, hey, I got to go to the comic book store the next day and worry about if my owner pulled my book or not. Because I heard you, Dave, saying one of your owners forgot to pull one of your books, one of your owners at your comic book shops.
And I scrapped that store and I went to another one that got it right.
Okay, yeah, well, that's capitalism, baby. But anyway, so just being able, I can go, like Avengers, they're having this big Civil War #3 that they're doing a midnight release for. And I can get that at 12:01 a.m. right away on Comixology and read it. I don't have to be in the crowds, but I'm old school. Like, I like being in the crowds. I like interacting with people.
Yeah.
I like human interaction, but I feel like we're caught in the middle. I think we're a little bit of both. We're kind of that in-between generation of like just against digital everything, and we're not digital everything. So, but I think that's, I guess I'm being completely biased here, but I think that's kind of the best way to be, because you can't give up on the human interaction. You can't not support mom and pop businesses, because it's just like video rental stores, man. Like, they're going to go the way of the dinosaur, and it breaks my heart, because some of my best memories growing up with my friends, I just had one of my best friends get married, but we were talking about just our rides to and from the comic book store and just the memories we had. And, like, I kind of feel sad that people soon won't have those, you know?
I got to stop you right there, because on the video rental thing, I've actually seen them come back in our area.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We don't have any. We don't have any anymore.
Not in your whole major city. That's crazy.
None.
Yeah. So we have one on the coast, and I think it's the only one. We used to have two, but now we only have one. It's called Wayback Video, and they're doing really well.
Is it actual? Do they have just DVDs and Blu-rays? They're not like doing retro VHS, are they?
Not VHS. It's mostly like DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah, there was one video rental store in Charlotte, and it shut down. It was actually right beside Heroes Aren't Hard to Find, which is the shop that puts on Heroes Con.
Yeah.
And in my hometown, because I'm like 20 minutes from Charlotte, so I'm in between that and my hometown. Like, there is one video store that's still open. So that's crazy. But I want brick and mortar to survive. It's going to be a sad day when those shops shut down. But I will tell you this. You guys know the Image comic Outcast? They made a show about it. It's by Robert Kirkman. There's a show on Cinemax. Are y'all familiar with the horror comic at all? No. Okay. Well, I wanted to pick it up, and I wanted an actual comic. So I went into a Books A Million, and dude, it is freaking slammed. Now, all the people in there were in line were probably 28, 27, or whatever, or older. But, I mean, I'm talking this place is jam-packed. So I think we're a little bit further off than we may think from digital books and comics or planting physical media. But I do think it's coming. I don't think that our kids will be able to go to comic book stores and buy brand new copies of physical books.
Yeah, I agree. But Brad, that is a good segue spot talking about video stores making their resurgence. Speaking of videos and movies, I know we'll say within the calendar we are now officially in summer, which means we are officially in the summer movie season. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on what movies, if any, that haven't been released yet that you're most excited about this summer.
Just summer, right?
This summer. It's coming up.
So we can't say Star Wars Rogue One because that's like Christmas.
That's holiday season.
Yeah. Okay. Holiday season. Gosh, you West Coast people.
What do you got, Brad? What do you got?
Ghostbusters. No. I'm not really excited for Ghostbusters, but I am gonna go see Ghostbusters probably. Man,
hey, Brad,
Star Trek Beyond.
Not to derail your answer, Brad, but I just I got a post on the Replica Prop Forum. Somebody posted how to make like a really good looking proton pack for $42 and 4 hours of your time out of all stuff you can find at Home Depot. So I think I'm gonna tackle it and do some filming of it.
Are you gonna try to go to the premiere of the movie using your proton pack?
I don't know. I don't think I'm that excited to see that movie. I like Ghostbuster is always like one of those side costumes that I've always wanted to kind of do, but never really wanted to put money into. You know what I mean? Because I have other stuff I'd rather put money in. So if I can make a decent looking proton pack for $42 and just go buy a flight suit from the Army surplus store and throw some patches on it and call it a day, I mean, why not?
There's a couple I'm excited for, but if you want me to give you my number one, I believe this is even over Suicide Squad for me, I'm really looking forward to Jason Bourne. It comes out July 29th. Just Matt Damon returning to that franchise. Jeremy Renner didn't do a bad job in the Bourne Legacy, but
I don't think so either.
I'm really excited to just see Jason Bourne back and Matt Damon playing the character. And I cannot remember the actress who is in that movie, but she's from the first three movies, I believe, and she's coming back.
You're talking about Julia Stiles, who plays.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So that's mine, man. Jason Bourne, badass. He's just such a subtle hero. Like, besides the chase scenes, nothing's like in your face, but it's a very, I guess, a very smart type of thriller. Almost kind of reminds me a lot of those Tom Clancy films back in the day, like Patriot Games with Harrison Ford, Clear and Present Danger. Like, that's what the Bourne franchise reminds me of, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that right up there with all them old school Jack Ryan movies, huh?
Yeah, the good Jack Ryan movies, not that crap with Chris Pine, man. Like, Chris Pine was not the problem. I really like Chris Pine, but I don't know that remake they did. I mean, when Alec Baldwin's movies are better, Jack Ryan movies are better, something's wrong.
Exactly. Wow, man, that's saying a lot, man.
Have you ever seen Brad, The Hunt for Red October?
You guys, I'm sure. Which one?
Have you ever seen The Hunt for Red October? Will, it's got Sean Connery and okay. I was just checking.
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I hear you. But you guys, I'm sure can guess what I'm most excited about for the summer movie season. That would be Suicide Squad. Now, I have a lot of friends, we'll say of the female sort, who are not happy about the supposed portrayal of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, because apparently it shies a lot away from the. I'm like most people of my generation that got introduced to Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series, so obviously that's like our benchmark that we compare all other Harleys to. So I've kind of just totally let that go because I know it's going to be nothing like that. but I mean, in all honesty, I'm very intrigued by it. It started out with, I was like everybody else with that whole typical, like, what the hell is this Jared Leto with the silver grill and the tattoos all over him portrayal of Joker? Like, I don't get this. So now I'm really, like, intrigued and looking forward to what it's going to be. I mean, I will say that I thought Ben Affleck did a good portrayal of Batman, better portrayal of Bruce Wayne in Batman vs. Superman. So to kind of just see that universe kind of explored a little bit more, and especially
really, because a lot of people I heard did not like Ben Affleck.
See, I thought he was,
liked him a lot.
Yeah, I liked him too, and especially now that, and I know they're not connected, but now that I've really, really like gotten, I'm talking like head deep in the waters of the DC shows on CW, I'm really, really pumped about hopefully getting a good DC movie. And if it has to be something that's like completely away from the source material, but it's actually a good movie, I'm okay with that.
But
you mean
hey, you mean like DC Entertainment Universe movie, right? You don't mean like DC movie overall, because the Nolan Batman movies are like the holy grail of superhero movies to me.
No, yeah, I mean out of the newer stuff that they're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
That we'll put that one aside. That's got its own little nice.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I do love the CW TV series for sure. But honestly, I thought that DC movies were better before they merged with Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers has owned DC for a while. I'm trying to remember of what would have been.
I think it was before 2009. I think they were still DC.
I know Batman '89 was Warner Brothers for sure.
Yeah, that was a Warner Brothers movie for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think Warner Brothers owned them, right? I think they had the rights to make the movie. Because Warner Brothers owns DC now.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Because if you think about it, like, back in the day, remember...
Hold on. I'm not trying to interrupt you, Dave, because I just want to clarify, because he's not wrong on the 2009 thing. I just fact-checked. It said, okay, basically, in September 2009, Warner Brothers announced that DC Comics would become a subsidiary of DC Entertainment. So basically, they own the film rights and everything, but as far as the comics, like Warner Brothers took control of the comics as well. But they've always had DC Entertainment, which would have been the movies, the TV shows, etc.
Yeah.
So
not wrong. Go ahead.
What I was just trying to say was, if you think about it, because the Batman series that we grew up watching, that was still solely produced by DC. Yeah. And it wasn't on Channel 5, if I remember correctly. I don't remember what channel it was on back in the day. Or Channel 5 is Warner Brothers for us.
Yeah, okay.
But now, like, if you think about it, then we had the new Batman, I forget what it was called. That was on Kids WB all the time. So, and it's crazy because now all the Marvel cartoon shows, they're all on only Disney, and it's just I hate it. The whole conglomeration thing of it all. I hate it when I see things just become conglomerarized, and it hurts me to know that things that I loved as a kid, now have been like tainted, corrupted.
My wife and I were talking about this tonight because comics is such a big investment as far as putting money into. But which you can't really think about it that way, because I like to think about the creators, whether it's artist or writer in a comic book, or whether it's a director or screenwriter with a movie or a TV show, whether it's cartoon or live action. Most of the time, I know not all the time, and I know we're a capitalist society, and everything is about, you know, the money, right?
The almighty dollar.
But I have to say, like, you have to think that as much as you love the character, most of these creators love the character too. Like, so, and they're putting their, even though they're getting paid, a lot of times you listen to Paul Dini or Bruce Timm, who worked on Batman the animated series, or you just listen to Kevin Smith talk about the last 2 episodes of The Flash he directed this past season. I mean, Kevin Smith talked about going on to set, and he was in tears when he saw the Flash outfit in person. So, while not everybody loves the characters as much as we do who works on these things, like, yeah, there's the big evil corporation in Disney and Warner Brothers, but you gotta look, I don't know, I'm trying to be a glass half full guy, Dave.
Yeah. Agreed. That being said, Dave, what is your top summer pick that we have yet to see?
Star Trek Beyond.
Star Trek Beyond. I mean, I think we did we all watch the new trailer?
I did.
I have. Yeah, I love it.
I know, Brad, you watched it. So Dave, let me get your thoughts on what are you? Did you like the second movie in the new, we'll say the new Star Trek franchise?
Yeah, I did.
Did you hate it as much as everybody else did, apparently?
Hated it? No, I liked it.
Okay,
and my
good.
friend that's even a bigger Star Trek fan than me liked it too.
Yeah. Do you feel okay? Well, seeing as how you didn't hate that, I didn't hate the second one either, but I could see why people had a lot of issues with it. Whatever. But I mean, do you feel like this movie's going to shape out to be a bigger, like, better movie with more substance than that one?
I don't know. I honestly can't say. I just think,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, make all of these predictions about movies before they come out, but you really don't know until people actually see them.
Yeah, agreed. Brad, you and I, we were watching the trailer while we were waiting for the show to start, and this kind of makes me laugh because I used to be like hardcore I'm Star Wars all the way, man. I'm a Star Wars non-Trek person. That being said, I do really enjoy the new films.
Because they're more like Star Wars than Star Trek. That's why you enjoy it.
Exactly. I will admittedly say that the first convention I ever went to was a Star Trek convention, and it was because my best friend was a huge Trekkie, and he wanted to meet Michael Dorn, who played Worf in The Next Generation. And so that was the first convention I ever went to. Even still, I was never a huge Star Trek fan. But anyways, Brad, what's your thoughts on the new trailer, and what are your feelings about the new movie?
Well, I can't believe you went to any more conventions and went on to become the fan of geek culture you become if a Star Trek convention was your first convention. I've never been to one, but I've heard stories from friends and other people who write around the internet and stuff. But man, I really liked the first Star Trek movie, the Abrams Star Trek movie. I thought they did a crazy awesome job of rebooting that universe while not crapping on the old stuff and making a parallel timeline. I mean, I love old Siler as Spock. What's the actor's name?
Zachary Quinto.
Yes, Zachary Quinto. I like to call him Siler from Heroes. But
yeah.
I love that first one. I just remember that where they dive, they space jump onto that rig on Vulcan. I'm like, wow, this is something
that was
different.
Cool.
Yeah, they're actually doing something instead of just flying around in space and talking.
Yeah.
That reminds me. So going back to when Star Wars Star Trek, when the first one first came out, it was a big deal because I was going to my first college I went to was in LA, and part of that movie, the Star Trek Academy, was filmed at our college.
Okay.
So it was a whole big thing. And you could clearly tell where it was filmed. So we had a movie night at our college. So I think that kind of got me into Star Trek because it's oh my gosh, I'm at Star Trek Academy, but not really.
I like to respect. I respect.
So Brad, you like the first one?
Yeah, I do. I respect the property. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
you have to be a Trek or Star Wars fan. You know, you can be both, but I do think you prefer one over the other.
yeah,
And the second one was pretty good. I could see why people were mad after Abrams lied about the Khan reveal. For
hmm
sure, I know. See, people were upset, but I'm not a big enough Star Trek fan to be upset. So I've
yeah,
enjoyed these first two movies. But one of my closest friends is like kind of like you, Will, a huge Trekkie, and he
yeah.
didn't like the second one. I've went back. I've watched all the original movies. I've watched the next gen movies. I've never really watched the shows, but I have seen all the feature films. But I watched this trailer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have J.J. Abrams draw me in. It's Justin Lin who directed. I know that he directed Saul, and he
Mhm.
directed one of the Fast and Furious movies, or maybe that's James Wan I'm thinking about. Justin Lin maybe directed G.I. Joe. I can't remember. But anyway, man, when Rihanna started singing in a Star Trek trailer, I immediately turned it off. I'm not gonna go see this movie. I'm too busy. I would rather stay at home and read a digital comic.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Straight up. Let's see. According to IMDb, Justin Lin directed quite a few of the Fast and the Furious movies, I think.
Okay, good. I wasn't too off.
Yeah.
Did he direct a Saw movie, or am I just completely, or was that just James Wan who directed Saw?
I think I'm looking. I'm trying to find it here, but
But
it's
I,
possible, man. I got to dig deep. He's got a lot of credits on here.
One thing I will say, Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine, man, they got the Spock and Kirk dynamic down. It's like it's
They do.
reverent to the
Absolutely.
original stuff, but at the same time, it's his own new thing. So that's my
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
part about those movies, and I will definitely watch it on HBO or watch it over at a
hmm
friend's house. I will watch it. I'm just not gonna see it in the theater probably.
Yeah. I'm being a big movie buff and fan of anything that's a big franchise. I will definitely go see it in the theater. But as excited as I can be about a Star Trek movie, that's where I'm at. But that's it. But real quick, since we're getting close to time, why don't we take a little bit of time to talk some comics if y'all guys want to talk about some comics?
We need to talk about comics, but we gotta address the elephant in the room, man. The big news this week, because we're kind of
Yeah.
talking news now, like the Fox and Marvel crossover. They're potentially in
Yeah.
talks. Did you guys hear about this?
It did,
Let,
right?
let, let's uh, let's brush off that little subject right now. What do we foresee as okay? So we always hear about these deals after they've been going on for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
they've pretty much like already like signed it or whatever. How far do we think, if there is a deal, are we in this deal? Is it going to happen? Are we going to see some X-Men in Infinity War? Like what's the prediction here?
I think there's a deal gonna happen that's gonna be smaller rather than big. I think everybody's thinking too big right now. We're all thinking Avengers versus X-Men or House of M, because that's like
Yeah,
our geek fantasy right now. And I think there would be a
yeah,
way to
absolutely.
organically do that we can talk about later if y'all want to. But I think there's going to be some kind of deal with the Fantastic Four. I think Marvel's going to get their hands back on that property, and
Yeah,
they're going to fix it the way they did Spider-Man. And I think it
yeah,
may have something to do with Galactus or the Silver Surfer being able to be used in an Avengers movie and
right.
and Fantastic Four type deal. I don't know what the deal would be. I don't know the logistics, but it's something that I know that Marvel has been trying to get their hands on Galactus and the Fantastic Four for quite some time.
Yeah, and Brad, it's funny that you say that because we all kind of know that Phase 3 of the MCU is going, we'll say, more towards cosmic. And when you think cosmic, other franchise that pops in your head obviously is the Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer. So that what you just said would make total sense and be obviously a very logical fit for where the movie franchises are going now.
What about you, Dave? What do you think about this, man?
Um, I did not like the last Fantastic Four. Um,
Did anybody?
No, nobody did. You're
No,
in the
I don't think anybody.
majority.
so I think that it'd be a really good thing if Marvel gets their clutches back on their property for the entertainment purposes.
I got a pitch for y'all. Here's how I would do this. Okay. Now, I'm not a screenwriter, but this is the
Let's do
best
it.
I got. Okay, I think that there
Right.
needs to be in House of M. I don't know if either one of you
Yeah.
guys have read House of M.
I've read the couple first issues.
Okay, that's like the first big event. Well, no, I read Age of Apocalypse, then I read House of M. Those were my first two big events. So Wolverine wakes up, and he wakes up in a world where the mutants rule everything, right?
Okay.
And Magneto and Quicksilver are like royalty, and Wanda Maximoff has kids, and she's so powerful she alters reality. So what if they use Wanda is kind of like Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda Maximoff is kind of the bridge between Fox and Marvel. So basically, all of a sudden, Hugh Jackman wakes up in this world where there's no mutants in the Marvel movies. Okay,
Yeah.
like there no more mutants, and he knows that this is false, and he knows that Wanda Maximoff, Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda Maximoff, is really not an Avenger. She's a mutant first, and she's basically created this whole alternate reality where there's no mutants in the MCU. So not that these characters in the MCU don't exist, it's just the reality of there being no mutants in that is a lie. So Wolverine has to go to the Avengers and to Wanda and convince them they've been living a lie, and they use Doctor Strange somehow to kind of push that story along, and he kind of helps Wolverine reveal the truth. Okay, in the process, Wolverine pisses off the Avengers. He tries to go in, get Wanda Maximoff, and after House of M, that's when we get Avengers versus X-Men, and then they reconcile, and then you have a decade of X-Men and Avengers movies where mutants can cross over together. What do y'all think?
I like
I
it.
like that. Yeah, it's a good
Let's
pitch.
do it.
I think I should go pitch for Disney, man. Let's go. Geeks
Disney.
Worldwide right here.
Disney, Fox, Sony people. Brad can be reached at this number.
Yeah, it's on my card.
He requires a small retainer fee and all his co-hosts on set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll do that, no problem. But no, man, just after how well Disney did with Spider-Man, Fox has to be like, okay, we want that, right?
Yeah, agree.
But I'm excited. But if you want to talk comics, I did read some comics this week. What do you think, Will? Do you want to talk comics?
You did read or didn't?
I did. I did read some comics this week.
Let's take a couple minutes.
Okay. Well,
let's talk two each. What do you got?
two each. Dave, did you read any comics this week?
I did.
Let Dave go. I want to hear what he read.
Okay.
No, you go first. I gotta decide which two I want to talk about.
Okay.
Let me go first since I only read two anyways.
Okay.
Go ahead, Will.
And I've been meaning to talk about these like the last 3 weeks, and I haven't got a chance to because we keep getting all crazy and discombobulated. But I'm a little behind on things, you know. Sometimes life gets in the way of the hobbies, so it's cool, you know, new jobs and things. But I finished I guess we'll say the first big story arc of Darth Vader, and we started the second story arc, which is End of Games. And I like this cover with the Emperor and Darth Vader and the Red Guards.
Yeah, that's cool. That's Dave. I think that's Mark Brooks or Dave Marquez. One of the two did the cover for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like. We got some really cool insight as to what the Emperor's whole mentality was with all the crap that Vader's been dealing with in the first story arc, and how essentially, and I mean this theme, we'll say, this idea has been brushed upon obviously in some of the expanded universe novels, which are apparently no longer canon. We all know that. But the fact that
I'm
You
just
didn't know that? This is
no,
supposed
no,
to?
I knew that.
Wait, you used
Uh,
some you used some pretty big words, so I was like kind of lost. It's like expanded universe, canon, what? Go
expanded
on.
universe. We're talking like all the original Dark Horse stuff, and all the novels.
Oh,
And
okay.
we're talking
So,
about yeah,
did they
yeah.
scrape all that? Is
And
what you're saying?
Yeah, they did.
when
Okay.
Disney bought it, they scraped all that. Yeah, but
Okay.
uh, how essentially, and of course, definitely after the destruction of the first Death Star, and then originally it went back to when we'll see Darth Vader when he was still like mostly human, not mostly machine, and almost died. He was pretty much in the Emperor's eyes considered a failure. He was like the Emperor's chosen one that was gonna like enact his ultimate rule upon the galaxy and help him take over everything. And so after those events, he was kind of like basically viewed as a failure. And this whole story arc is kind of Vader's, I guess we'll say, redemption in the eyes of the Emperor. And so now that he's proven time and time again that he's this unstoppable force, that he's always been one step ahead of people who are even like trying to oust him and trying to like uncover his like other intentions. And now the Emperor's like, through all that crap, you still came out on top. So I love you again.
You know
So
what? That reminds me of LeBron James and Cleveland right there. After all that crap, that they still love him, and he's been this
yeah,
unstoppable force. But I think
yeah,
Kieran
yeah.
Gillen, who writes Vader, must be a LeBron James fan.
That's it, Brad. That's
Uh,
it. So anyways, now after that, and after Vader had that very nice moment that he's kind of finally achieved his redemption, he's now we'll say tying up loose ends that were giving the Empire trouble in the first story arc. So that's where we're at. Continues to be an amazingly well written comic. Artwork is always like top notch, beautiful. It continues to be definitely my favorite Star Wars book. And then I'm also still reading Invincible Iron Man by Bendis, Deodato, and Martin. Have you read any of the new Iron Man stuff, Brad?
I'm like at that same issue you
Brad,
just held
Brad,
up.
are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Brad, did
here.
I lose?
I'm here. Yeah,
he's there. Can
yeah,
you not
I'm
hear?
yeah, I'm here.
Uh,
I've been reading that
you
Invincible Iron
you're at
Man.
this one. You're at this one.
Let's see which one.
Yeah.
The one you have with Spider-Man in the background. That's the issue that I'm on. I hadn't read it yet, so
Okay,
I
cool.
want to
I
I
won't
want to
spoil
read
anything.
it
I won't
though.
spoil it. Yes, I won't spoil it then. Do you like this new book? I love it. I think it's a great book. I mean, I'm a
I
bit biased when it comes to Iron Man, but
I like it more than I do International Iron Man. Have you read International Iron Man?
yeah,
It's like the sister book to it. Yeah,
I read like the first two issues so far. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Bendis is Bendis, man. He's awesome. He's a legend. I think it's cool that he's getting the right Tony Stark. Here's
yeah.
my favorite part of Invincible Iron Man. What
Tell
they
me.
did with Doctor Doom post Secret Wars and just seeing him interact with Tony Stark,
Yeah,
that and the Mary Jane stuff make the book worth reading to me.
the Mary Jane stuff is really fun right now.
Yeah.
She's kind of like taking over as Pepper almost, and just seeing that interaction between them and the fact that she knows Spider-Man is kind of fun. It's kind of
Yeah.
seeing how she's playing both sides, I guess we'll say. But yeah, good book. I'm really enjoying the Invincible Iron Man. I'm kind of I think I'm an issue behind now, Brad, but it gets really good. That issue that you're going to read in 9 are both really good issues with the crazy enemy that they're dealing with. So you'll have
Now
to
I'm
check
gonna
out
have to sell them before I read them to go buy an iPad Pro so I can experience it in digital form. But
Yeah.
I read
Yeah.
two books, man. Like I read Kieran Gillen book 2. I read Wicked and the Divine #1, which I've never read. Wicked and the Divine. Oh
Yeah.
my God! Incredible creator-owned story about these gods who are essentially rock stars, and they only have a limited amount of time on this earth, and it is freaking incredible. It was one of the best new series of the past 2 years, and I never took the time to read it, but it being summer now, and as Dave mentioned, I'm a school teacher, I had a little extra time to check out some back catalog. It lives up to the hype. I recommend it. And as I mentioned earlier, I interviewed Frank Barberi.
Mm-hmm.
Got to read about half of the first 12 issues of Five Ghost. And I'll be honest, I bought this because I was really wanting to just support Frank. And after like one book, I'm hooked. It is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And like
Absolutely.
this guy, I mean, even though Howling Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D. may not have been a runaway success as far as sales, if you read Five Ghosts and you see what he does with the team of mythological figures, and you read Howling Commandos and see what he does with the team of the paranormal characters, this guy's going to be writing Avengers or Justice League one day, I guarantee you, because he handles a team book better than anybody who is not in a quote-unquote established name. So Five Ghosts, Frank Barberi, Mooneyham is freaking awesome, and then Wicked and Divine, read that as well.
Excellent. Mr. David, what'd you read this week, man?
Okay, so I came up with the two that I wanted to mention. So the first one was Power Rangers issue 4.
Yeah.
I read that one too.
Yeah, so that one was eventful, and I got a variant cover, which was cool.
Ooh, which one did you get, man?
The Black Power Ranger.
Cool.
Dude, yes.
The one with the Mastodon Zord on it?
No, it's a Black Power Ranger action figure.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love those. I love those.
Those are cool too, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I love that. I kind of like how, I guess, spoiler alert, sorry, hate me if you want, at the end of it, there's this big explosion, and the Power Rangers, like, headquarters is, like, blasted, and then there's this new, like, freaking cool villain that approaches, and you're like, hell yeah, you know it's about to get good.
Yes.
I was shocked, man. Were you surprised when they blew up the command center? Because they waited to the end of the show to do it, but now they're doing it like issue 4.
I love it. Yeah, I was a bit shocked, so that was pretty sweet. So let's see. The other one, comic that I guess I totally forgot the other one I was going to mention.
Dude, hey, Power Rangers number 4 when Scorpina makes like a golden dragon dagger. Oh my gosh, Will, it looks like it should be a Comic-Con exclusive. Remember the Comic-Con exclusive dragon dagger they did? The Legacy
golden
one?
black?
Yeah, that looks like what Scorpina is using. I mean, they may have modeled it off. Like, there was just enough of like the dark energy from the Green Ranger power coin, the dragon coin that Rita had, that she kind of, piecemealed together a dragon dagger. And like he said, freaking awesome fight between the Rangers and the Dragon Zord and Scorpina.
That's cool.
So I guess like I remember the other one I was going to mention. So I read The Vision last week, but that's not really the one I want to talk about. The one I want to talk about, it's kind of an older thing now, but it's kind of relevant because they're coming out finally with Volume 9 for the Mega Man series by Archie. And I really love Mega Man. Mighty Number 9 just came out, and I know there's a lot of heat for Mighty Number 9. Personally, I know it's not that great of a game, but it still means a lot to me because I grew up playing like Mega Man as a kid and Mega Man X. So the Mega Man comic was really good, and it talks a lot about. So I just finished Mega Man Volume 7, which is a collection of the comics. Yeah, it came out a year ago or something, the actual comics. So this one actually it starts off on the Mega Man X series, and it's kind of cool because you could tell that they're playing off a lot of things that never got answered in Mega Man X. Like whatever happened to Mega Man, in Mega Man X. What happened to Dr. Wily? Like those things are never kind of explained. Maybe there are, and I'm not enough of a Mega Man fan to know. But it starts to get in like all of these things. And so the comic talks about how Mega Man X was in hibernation for 30 years, and we didn't even know, like Dr. Kane, when he discovers Mega Man X, he doesn't know if he's going to be this crazy robot that's going to wipe out the world. So he's all like, oh shoot, like I guess I'm going to take this risk and see if he actually like worked out. And then of course, we all know that Mega Man X is like the greatest like robot ever, and so it's just I love it, and it's just really cool. And you see a lot of the action going into play, like so when so you see like these rogue Maverick robots, and then Dr. Kane goes on trial, and so you get to see like Mega Man X's relationship with Dr. Kane. You kind of get to see like the like Sigma and Mega Man interaction. Like Mega Man was like so cool. He's like from the very start, he's like, I don't like these Maverick hunters. I don't like the Sigma guy. And nobody listens to Mega Man. And then what happens? We all know what happens. Sigma turns super evil and tries to wipe out the human race. So, go on.
I'm sorry. I just have one question for y'all. I want to ask before we have to end.
Yeah.
Like we just talked about Power Rangers and Mega Man, and we love Power Rangers, Dave and I. I don't read Mega Man, but you have this flood of like these established properties that aren't quote unquote comic book properties, like Star Wars, a huge seller, Power Rangers, a huge seller, right? Right. How do you guys feel about like those established properties in comic books? Like if you had to pick between reading that or a traditional comic book character, do you choose the Power Rangers or Star Wars because it tugs at your nostalgia strings? Or do you stick with like an Iron Man or something because that's his natural medium, or his initial medium was comic books?
I like it. I like it. I like Star Wars. I like Power Rangers. I love seeing them in comic form.
So you're thrilled, like that really excites you. Okay, yeah. I was just wondering. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, because I think Will and I maybe feel the same way, but it just goes deeper into the stories, There's a lot of things that weren't answered in the movies or in Mega Man that get answered in the comics that weren't answered in the video games. Or they created stories, that didn't have answers in the other platform. Yeah. So honestly, with Power Rangers, and I'm sure you probably noticed this, Brad, but they go a little bit more into the technology and the lore, and you never really saw any of that in the show. It was mostly, here's your powers, go fight a villain, and live your changed lives. There's probably a whole bunch of cool stuff in here, but we're not really going to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is cool to go deeper into the mythos. I agree, but I still prefer just read my old comic book characters, man.
It's all good. It's all good, buddy. That's what's great about this beautiful culture and this universe that we all love, because we all have a little something that we can all sink our teeth into. But that's a good spot to stop for tonight, guys. Brad, since we haven't been on with you in a while, why don't you start us off with your final thought tonight?
Okay, my final thought is read Frank Barberi's stuff. Guy's going to be a big star one day. He's probably my future all-star as far as writer. Another guy I recommend you check out is a guy that I interviewed named Chad Thomas. He does the Nick IDW comic for kids, but he should not be judged by that alone because some of his other character designs, and he actually used to do some Mega Man work for Archie. So that's interesting that Dave brought that up. Look up Chad Thomas for IDW because it's cool to get in on the ground floor with these guys and see them kind of rise and kind of go along for the ride as they do that. There's something neat about that. So check those guys out. As far as me, you can find me on Twitter at The Real Brad Bell, REEL Brad Bell. I have 2 other podcasts I do. Just search the Confirmed Epic Podcast on iTunes. Search the Pop Culture Potluck Podcast on iTunes or the Confirmed Epic Podcast Network. And please go and listen to my interviews from Heroes Con and leave a comment and let me know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad, it was awesome having you, man. It's always good talking to you.
It was my honor.
Yes, awesome. Anytime, man. Mr. Dave, what you got for your final thought this week, sir?
Just thanks again, viewers, for watching us and for your support. And I just want to encourage people, at the heart of comics is read, especially to our young people watching this, get your younger siblings to read. My dad, unfortunately, he hates reading because neither of his parents spoke English growing up, so they never read to him, and he didn't like reading, and so that's sad. And so I just want people to just enjoy reading and embrace that. And comics, read comics especially.
Awesome stuff, buddy. Thank you as always. It's always a pleasure having you, and I'm glad you're becoming a integral part of this team. So look forward to next week. As for my final thought, what was I gonna say? Like I said, I've been knee deep in the C-dubs, and I just got through season 3 of Arrow, and everybody was telling me that
you're a season ahead of me.
everybody was telling me that it gets crappy after season 2. So far, I'm not agreeing with that.
I'm on season 4, episode 4, and I've been there since October.
Oh, okay, so maybe season 4 is the turning point, huh?
I just got busy, and it just dropped on my CW totem pole behind Legends of Tomorrow, and Flash is like my end-all, be-all of that stuff.
Yeah, but anyways, I loved season 3. I won't say too much about it, Dave, since you're not there yet, but definitely a lot of Ra's al Ghul in that one, which is cool. So, anyways, if you wanna find out more about what we think about comics and TV and movies and video games and technology, you want to see all the cool people that Brad talked to at Heroes Con, you want to see all these amazing articles that are written by the amazing team of people that we have as part of our awesome organization, you better be checking out thegww.com for all the latest in geek culture. As always, you can find us on Twitter at GWWCapesCrew. You can find me on Twitter at Darth Sparrow. And as always, we will catch you. Are you guys ready for this? You guys ready?
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the geek side.